Hey everybody, I'm Ben Higgins.
Hey, I'm Serena Pitt.
Hey, this is Blake Moynes.
Hi, this is Alana Milne.
Hey, I'm Lindsay Hamilton.
And you're watching The Bros Ceremony.
And you're watching The Bros Ceremony.
And you're watching The Bros Ceremony.
And you're watching Bros Ceremony.
And you're watching The Bros Ceremony.
This is The Bros Ceremony.
Your journey's about to begin.
Recapping the week that was in Bachelor Nation and previewing what's to come in the next episode with some special betting odds.
Everyone can't wait to find out what happens next week.
Here are your hosts, Michael the Hound Dog Harrison and Adam Scully.
Will you accept this rose?
Will you accept this rose?
Will you accept this rose?
You are the paint that colored my world. Hello and welcome inside episode 23 of the Bros Ceremony podcast. Adam Scully alongside a nicely coiffed Michael the Hound Dog Harrison. And Michael, I got to say, we posted the stop and chat, if you will. Not really a stop and chat, the snippet of our conversation regarding your salad. And got to say, rave reviews from all around the world talking about your great hair.
You know what, Adam? I was trying my best to actually look halfway decent for the first time in a long time, and after my haircut.
Let's not go too far, okay.
Yeah, and I actually succeeded. But I thought this time I might go a little step further and really push the envelope, push the boat out to be able to look. And I must say, not often would I say this about myself. I must say I'm looking pretty damn dapper right now, Adam.
Oh, okay. We'll let our viewers decide on that, but I feel like it would be an overwhelming yes. You look dapper right now. And speaking of dapper, I mean, the gents in the episode, we're now down to the final 7 tonight. I believe I counted that correctly. 7 guys remain. We'll recap last week's episode because, you know what, whenever we watch these at different times, we don't text each other directly about the episode, but we sort of hint towards what we are, thinking, sort of, kind of, but not really. And I was either going to text you this or I meant to text you this. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. Too many pucks at the brain. I played hockey. I'm not sure if you know. But this episode, if we really wanted to, this could be a 5-hour episode. It was a lot of stuff went on.
Absolutely, my friend. Absolutely. Well, where to begin with all this? There was definitely probably the most jam-packed episode, perhaps, of the season. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we can start, of course, at the beginning. What a shocker to start at the beginning. There was a unique challenge that was created, I guess, if you want to, that Katie posed to the gentleman. Tell us in detail about this challenge, Adam.
Operation Whoa is what they referred this to. And it was funny how the dynamic duo, or the dream team, I guess, as they're calling themselves, Caitlin and Tayshia, went to go talk to Katie. And Katie said, you know what, I want to challenge these guys. Like, I'm falling for some of these guys. Like, let's take this to the next level. And whoa. So as Katie so eloquently put it, where you don't give yourself a friendly handshake. I want to say that's one of the ways she described this motion. Whoa. I'm not going to say it, bleep. Maybe we'll bleep that out. And Michael, this is an interesting play because we both haven't, spoiler alert, been on The Bachelor before. But with so much downtime and so much like stress to relieve, that makes sense. This has to be pretty hard for the guys. No pun intended.
I was going to say pun intended. Actually, I believe Connor also had one of my favorite expressions of all those.
He had like 10 of them.
Yeah, he had a bunch of them. My favorite one was "No more feeding the wild stallion" was my favorite one on that one. There was a hilarious subsection of people on social media who were absolutely like, I'm assuming fake upset about Katie not allowing the guys to, have some good days, as it were. And they were like, no, I can't believe you do that to all these guys. Like, unbelievable. Like, what are you talking about? And it was just funny to see. There's a couple of videos out there, people ranting and raving about it or whatever, which was quite humorous. Definitely check those out. I'm assuming if you Googled them or if you asked Jeeves, I think it's a search engine, I'm assuming still, they would come up. But yeah, it was pretty funny. And I do. Well, I'm sure we'll never know, of course, the results of that challenge, because that'd be pretty weird if they actually had a scoreboard or something.
You know what? That would be an interesting thing to have a scoreboard on Operation Whoa. There were some pretty funny moments. We'll get to one a little later in the episode involving Blake, which I'll level with you. I was howling with laughter there was a howl involved.
Do you love to laugh, Adam? Do you love to laugh?
Most cases, I do love to laugh. Now, before we started recording this episode, you thought I vomited. I was taking a sip of water. It was water. And I happened to hiccup at the exact same time.
Why are we messing up what each other's are doing? There was an episode or 2 episodes ago, you thought I had flatulence or something like that when I really was just clearing my throat. And now I'm thinking that you've done that when you were just I don't understand. Why are we messing up so much? I apologize for that, Adam. Profusely.
Yeah, you know what? I profusely apologize too. But I mean, it is what it is. We can't be perfect. We may think sometimes that we're perfect. Our audience might think we're perfect sometimes. But you know what? It is what it is. Anyway, so getting back to the episode, we left off last week talking about Hunter a lot, and Hunter becoming sort of the new villain of the house. And now, as you know, the episode slowly progresses, it has sort of come to the guy's attention that Hunter is a big Bachelor super fan, and he just sort of knows the system. And he had a little stop and chat with Greg, talking about strategy. Hey, we're in the final four. Who do you think your final four is? And Greg, don't call me Brandon Dubinsky's like, I don't know, dude. Like, I don't know. I'm not going to tell you. Like, if we were on this season and we didn't know each other, I don't know about you, but I wouldn't be talking strategy with someone I'm battling for love. What do you think?
Absolutely. It would be a shame if we didn't know each other, Adam, but who knows? Maybe we would have a bromance like Greg and Connor had there, which there's a lot of memes like that on the internet there. Yeah, no, you definitely cannot say that at all. Anything about strategy, because you would just have to assume, just like any other normal, when I say normal reality show, I mean like a game where they're trying to screw each other over for money, the Big Brother, right. Survivor, those types of games. Yeah, so why would you tell any guy your thoughts on the final four? Because he's just going to use it against you, almost guaranteed. So not a good play for a guy who knows so much of the game. He doesn't play it very well, as we found out.
As we sure found out. And we'll get to Hunter a little later in the episode. But first up, date card wise, in this episode was a one-on-one. And Justin got this one-on-one. I don't know about you, but it's just a really weird date, like their wedding day, and they had to actually, wake up. That was my alarm clock. Yeah, I mean, but why? Like, why would you put a human being through that? Like, I mean, you're writing vows, like you're essentially, I mean, who knows how long Justin and Katie have actually known? Is it 3 weeks? Is it 6 weeks? Is it a month? Who knows? But writing these heartfelt vows, and Justin's having trouble with it. Of course he's having trouble with it.
You're talking a lot more about the Justin date than I thought we ever would possibly do, which is about 30 seconds or something like that. Because I was all set to, like I said, have a little nap and then just immediately go back to the next, or go on to the next date. Because
you are a good napper.
Oh, interesting. I like that. I've been called worse. But yeah, I didn't really get a whole lot of the whole Justin thing. Like, he seems to be doing pretty well. His facial expressions, as we've mentioned before, are incredible. I don't think he's a serious contender to win Katie's heart, however. And so therefore, I just thought the date was just like, I don't know, it was just like meh. So as we said earlier, jam-packed episode. This part of the episode was meh to me. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it was sort of whatever. Like, it wasn't great. The one thing I'm very curious about, and I have to ask you this. So, they do this wedding day thing and they have their dinner, and then, the roses exchange. And then Katie says, oh, I have one more, surprise for you. How, on a scale of 1 to 100, how big of a fan are you of Max, the singer? Max with no last name, like Madonna or Ichiro. I think that's a line from 40-Year-Old Virgin. I'm not quite sure, but that's So Max performed for them. Just imagine, have you ever slow danced with a friend with one singer sort of thing? Probably not. I would like a nice private performance.
Shockingly, I have not done that. You could have also said Cher, by the way. Cher would have worked. The only note I wrote down about Max,
Nice.
I can't really say exactly. No, the only note I wrote down about Max was that his pants were very, very high, and his shirt was very, very bad. That's all I can really recollect from that. I was just like, yeah.
Are we talking high waisted or like joggers, like high on the ankle?
No, very high waisted. Yeah.
Oh,
I remember just feeling like that's a unique look. Good for him for rocking it, but yeah. I can't say, obviously, as we know, I don't know much about music, but I can't say I know who Max is just by Max. I don't really know.
Yeah, me too. But anyway, so Justin gets the rose, the one-on-one, and then comes a group date. And the date card, I believe it said this queen. Yes, it did. This queen is looking for her king. And so here you're wondering, many things could come out of this from this date card alone. I think it cut to commercial break, came back. The guys all were walking in outdoors, and they're all very dolled up. Like we're dolled up right now, sort of a jacket. Some guys had the collared shirt on. Some guys had a t-shirt on sort of thing under a jacket. And what ended up happening, this date was pretty good. Drag queens show up, drag queen all-stars, I believe. And basically it turned into a roast. Have you ever been roasted?
Good question. I don't think officially ever been roasted. No, by the way, I was just thinking this when you mentioned that, but with the date card, this queen needs to find her king or something along those lines. How great would it have been if they were just playing cards? They came back from commercials and they're just playing cards. Like Hearts, by the way, Hearts is the best card game ever. I love it so much. Haven't played in a while. I love it. It's amazing. But yeah, how great would this date be if the first challenge was them not doing anything at all? No shaking of their hands and stuff. And the second one, just them playing cards, euchre or whatever. That would be hilarious TV because it would be so unbelievably boring, obviously. Although I guess they would find a way to make it some competitive in some capacity. But yeah, I wrote down the names of these two drag queens, who were hilarious, by the way. I apologize if I'm saying these names wrong. I probably will. I'm going to say Shea Coulee.
Yeah, you nailed that. Yep.
Whew. Okay, and Monet Exchange, where they're very, very funny. In fact, I would have said I would like to seen them more on the show, especially because, of course, they were part of the roast challenge, as you were referring to, which it was a lot of build up and then not a lot of not much of a happy ending to that debate or that roasting.
I couldn't agree more. Like like the guys sort of maybe at the start felt sort of weird doing it, and everyone sort of teamed up on Hunter. Now I'm sure, like we've mentioned thousands of times before, how long this date actually was. I'm sure everyone else was roasted in some way, shape, or form. But what they showed anyway was Hunter getting roasted, and sort of what happened from there was Hunter took the high road, and sort of he was given the opportunity to say, hey, Hunter, like it's your turn, do what you got to do. And he's like, no, I'm here for Katie. I'm falling in love with Katie. And everyone just all together rolled their eyes.
And as he was saying before, like obviously he's playing the game, he has strategy, blah, 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 blah. I was like, you know what? I respect that gameplay. Turn around on the guys as he said he was going to do. And then there for a little while there, it seemed like there might be a glimmer of hope for a Hunter that maybe, just maybe, a villain would actually last more than an episode or two, which is the whole season has not happened, which we'll get to in a bit. How it seems like every single time they have a new villain, the goalposts change, they get rid of him. And I thought for a bit because of that, maybe Hunter was going to convince her to keep him around. However, only time would tell, and time would tell that it wasn't so good for Hunter.
Spoiler alert, first of all. But yeah, so Hunter was the villain. I mean, you could still call it that in terms of the guys just didn't see eye to eye with Hunter for whatever reason. And that led into the cocktail party as well, where, Andrew S. had a conversation with Katie talking about the way they kiss each other. And then, like I mentioned earlier, this is where the Blake whoa chat occurred, where Blake, who we had on this show, who came on 2 episodes ago, I think.
Oh, you mean, I thought you meant at first you meant on this podcast, and I was going to be like, I don't think it was 2 episodes ago.
No, yeah.
This season, yeah, you're right. Yep, 2 episodes ago.
So to to confirm. So Blake was on episode 3 of the Bros Ceremony, and he joined Katie's season of The Bachelorette 2 episodes ago. But anyway, Blake, being the great Canadian guy that he is, has made a great, wonderful, everlasting impression on Katie. And during their one-on-one time together, Blake and Katie had this hilarious conversation about WoWo. And this is what I mentioned earlier about how I was howling with laughter. I'm not sure how much we want to dive into that conversation in itself here, but good for Blake for having a sense of humor around something that is, an interesting little ploy, I guess, by Katie, if you will.
Good word. I'm not gonna lie to you. The whoa thing.
You.
Maybe I'm just not cultured enough or something like that. I can't say I actually knew what that meant when they first said that. Did you know immediately what that was all about?
No, but I understood it when they said the first 2 words, then bleeped out.
Yeah.
the
Of course.
few
I just mean
words.
initially I was like, I don't know. But yes, there's a lot of puns, lots of sexual puns that Blake said with Katie that were tremendous, of course. And I mean, they might be too hot for TV. I don't know if Instagram would even allow us to say them because there were some pretty funny ones.
But it was pretty funny though when they're having this conversation about that, and and I believe Katie said this. So does this mean we should or should not kiss? Or did Blake say that? One of them said that, and they had a very passionate kiss. And they had a very passionate kiss a little later in the show, which we'll get to in just a little bit. But then, we mentioned Hunter, and how Hunter's been one of the villains, and in this episode was the main villain of the episode. And that's where James, one of your picks heading into the week, of course, or heading into the season, decided to tell Katie about Hunter. And then the night took a turn. The night took a bad turn. And that's where Katie puked.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, she was very upset. James was also wearing a turtleneck that reminded me very much of you. I was like, oh my goodness, that was some turtleneck that he was sporting there for sure. As we've said before, the promos for the show are incredible because they make it seem like there's crazy, insane things happening. Yeah, she got sick. It's like, oh, that's all it was. Like every time, it never lives up to the actual billing of what it seems like it's going to be, of course. But
right,
yeah, it wasn't so good for her. And I think James. Every time on the show, anytime a guy talks smack about another guy, it like almost never goes. 95% of the time, I don't know the exact stats on this, but I'm going to be confident saying 95% of the time, it does not go well for them.
I'm so curious about this because if there is a day when you or I are on this show, I mean, we're there for love. We're there to find our partner. And I don't know about you, but I don't think I'd spend my precious time with the lead talking about you being a villain in the house. I just personally don't see myself doing that. I'm not sure if you're on that same wavelength. I mean, maybe that's just common sense. Maybe there's a producer in their ear saying, no, just chirp, 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 chirp. I don't know.
Because obviously, as we've touched on, they always say they don't have enough time. They don't have enough time. It all seems like all they have is time in that show. So I never quite understand when they say, "Oh, I don't have enough time." It makes no sense to me because they're always complaining about not having enough time, but they clearly have oodles and oodles of that. So I'd love to know what their time that they're not spending with her is actually what's actually happening. Of course, obviously, I'm sure the guys are hanging out with each other and so on and so forth. But it just seems weird to me. Like what the producers say? Okay, you can only talk to Katie now for a 20-minute window. Like there's 24 hours in a day. Spoiler alert. I'm pretty sure they would have a bit more time to be able to talk to her, but maybe I'm crazy. Or maybe both can be true.
I would say probably both are true. Yeah. You know what? And this is at some point, I doubt we could ever do it, but I'd love to have one of the main producers on this show and just have that conversation. Or maybe they'll give us an inside baseball look where we're behind the scenes, we're looking at how things are done, we sit in on an edit session, we do interviews. I think that this is sort of a long-term sort of thing. But
you doubt we can do that? I don't like your attitude, Adam, that you doubt that we can do that. I think we're Bros Ceremony, YouTube, Instagram superstars talking about the Bachelor and the Bachelorette series and Bachelor in Paradise, of course, which is coming up soon in August
16th.
I think we obviously will get a Bachelor producer meeting. Come on. No?
I guess, Michael, Only time will tell if that happens. That was on a platter for me. So one thing before we move on from this date. So Katie's obviously not happy. She comes back, elects not to give a rose. Pretty bold. Katie's been bold throughout. One of the main times, the Thomas rose ceremony, calls Thomas up. Everyone thinks he's getting that rose, and she basically kicks him out. What were your thoughts on Katie electing not to give a rose that evening?
That's just total production. That's just the producers, just for drama. Don't do it. I also find it funny how, I don't know, a number of times a season it seems, or at least twice a season, it's like, oh, I'm not gonna have a cocktail party tonight. Why? Why wouldn't you have a cocktail party? Why? If you had a chance to have a cocktail party or not to have a cocktail party, why would you ever say, I'm not gonna have the cocktail party? It makes no sense.
Yeah.
But they always do it like twice a season. No, I don't want to have a good time. I don't want to have drinks with you guys. Screw you guys. So I'm sure that's just production being like, hey, that's the one time. Let's not have it, just to make it really, really dramatic. So people talk about it, which is exactly what we're doing right now.
100%. Yeah. So, and we'll get to that a little later in the episode because, yeah, cocktail party, maybe a little cancellation, but we'll get to that momentarily. And it's happened already this season. It always happens where, formerly Chris Harrison would come in and say, you know what, the lead has made their decision. No cocktail party. Massive gasp in the room, and they go on from there. But speaking of roses and love and vulnerability, second straight episode, the term vulnerable not used. Why? Like, is this a new era? Like,
I don't like this dawn of a new era. If that is the case, I would have thought that, again, I wasn't keeping track, but I guess the reason I didn't keep track was because I didn't hear it. I would have thought in the Connor date, one of your boys, I would have thought he would have said that a few times, and he didn't. That's shocking to me.
Yes. And so speaking of the Connor date, so Connor, the cat guy, as he was known, Katie and Connor right off the hop had this great connection. Connor walked in with the cat costume on. So he had this one-on-one date, and perhaps a little foreshadowing, perhaps they show Connor wheeling the bag out. And that's when you knew maybe something's going to happen here. But in terms of the date itself, Caitlin Bristow, who's Canadian, one of the dynamic duo, had her now fiance, Jason, who's from Buffalo, who was on a recent season of The Bachelorette. I can't think of which season he was.
They all blend together, as I said before. Yeah, it was like 3 years ago, I'd say, or two.
Yeah,
2 seasons, something like that. Probably 3 seasons.
Hannah? No, it wasn't Hannah. Anyway, so Caitlin and Jason have met each other, through the Bachelor grapevine, I guess. So whatever. So they have this date, and they're playing volleyball. Clearly, Connor's not a volleyball guy, and Katie was pretty clear about that. But what were your thoughts on this, on having a date like this, sort of a double date, trying to make something seem as normal as possible?
I just don't understand, because obviously, as we know, as we'll shockingly realize, that Connor didn't end up wooing her, or she didn't end up liking him in that way or whatever. I don't understand, because going into the date, he said it's going to be really, really fun. What a shocker. He's going into the date hoping it's going to be really, really fun. I just a novel concept to me. I'm stunned that he thought it was going to be wasn't going to be a horrible, horrible date. So you are contemplating life right now. I'm stunned that he thought it was going to be a really fun date, and then it turned out it wasn't fun, which is very, very sad for him, because I guess they had a really good friendship level, but they didn't have that next step, that salacious passion for each other. Good word, salacious. That's the word of the day. Word up for this podcast episode.
Salacious.
Yes. Or lascivious. Lascivious is another one you could use as well,
Okay.
which is even a better word, I would say, than salacious.
Okay. Sorry. I was just doing some research for a final chat topic, because I'll get to that in a little bit. I think I know the guy's name, but I'm having some, pucks against off the head, played hockey, sort of ordeal. But this was because, you know what? I picked Connor after episode 1. I had a great feeling about Connor. Perhaps I still have a great feeling about Connor, even though spoiler alert, he's been eliminated. But Katie sent him home because of the kisses they were having. The chemistry wasn't there. But what was even crazier to me was the camaraderie between the guys. Like Connor, first of all, give Connor credit. And I'm not sure if he begged the producers to go say goodbye to the guys, because generally, like they had all the guys waiting around, doing God knows what. And that's when, a producer would come in, take the bag, collective gasp, oh my God. But this time it was Connor walking in saying, I just want to say goodbye, my goodbyes. And I'm curious how that all transpired. But in terms of emotional goodbyes from the other guys in the house, like, guys were in tears over this.
They were rattled, including my boy Trey, who I absolutely love and truly hope he's on Bachelor in Paradise if he doesn't somehow come back in a twist. I love Trey. And yeah, he was very, very rattled. And one of the things I noticed and I paid attention to, and perhaps the Bachelor producers have been watching this podcast. I mean, we did have, obviously, as we mentioned, Blake, Alana, Serena Pitt, some great Bachelor alum. Obviously, Ben Higgins have been on the Bro Ceremony. Take two. Would you like to speak, Michael? The Bro Ceremony before. Perhaps the Bachelor producers were paying attention because obviously I've railed on many times that they don't wear seatbelts when they're in the limo when they're gone. Connor was wearing one in full view the entire time. So I think I am a Bachelor show influencer. What do you think about that, Adam?
Wow. I did write down the seatbelt note. I've now, as we've had this conversation numerous times on this show, talking about the wearing of a seatbelt, and I noticed it. I'm still curious how long that car ride actually was. But so what happened after that, though, was quite interesting, because this was that night and all the guys were emotional. Lots of, you mentioned Trey, Greg as well was visibly emotional. Blake decided to take matters into his own hands, and he had like a boom box over his head, and Katie was like, what on earth is that? And walked out, and there's Blake. I'm sure that's happened in a movie, that because we don't really watch movies. Maybe we should start watching more movies and become more cultured, but that's a thought for another day. Anyway, so Katie hears Blake and said, oh my, like, what the hell? What are you doing here? And, Blake says, I'm here for you, come to cheer you up. And things got a little hot and heavy after that, didn't they?
It got a little steamy. Yes. Perhaps stupidly, I said last episode of the Bro Ceremony that I didn't think they actually had this chemistry that everyone was talking about, that it was going to be so smoldering hot, the chemistry. Perhaps I was wrong about that, because it certainly seems that, yeah, she obviously went up to her hotel room there. They made out a lot. They seemed to be quite vulnerable for each other, as it were. And Adam's very, very excited right now. And they definitely seem to be going along pretty well. My favorite moment, of course, I'm sure you noticed this as well, because as I've talked about before, my favorite thing.
I know where you're going.
Bachelor's symbolism in the Bachelor show, because as we know, the challenge was the whatever the hell the challenge was called. They couldn't have any firing on all cylinders, as it were. At the end of the going to commercial break, I was going to say Connor. I don't know what I was going to say. Blake, of course, was very, very happy. And then they cut to the shot of the sprinklers going off. Quite good symbolism that maybe Blake was a little too happy when he was visiting with Katie there. Was that what you were thought? What I was going to say that? Yeah.
I knew you were going with that. There were a couple times this week, Michael, where I laughed very hard. That was one of them. Brooks Koepka saying, I love my driver, in an interview with Todd Lewis from Golf Channel after Bryson DeChambeau's remarks about how he hates his driver. That made me, I think my entire condo building heard me laugh.
I didn't hear that one. Good. I missed it. He loves his driver. Obviously.
Really? Did you actually miss that?
Yes, I did. Yeah. Adam, you need to be sharing these things with me, man. I thought we were like tight. I thought we were boys, but I guess not. I guess we are not. I guess we're not like Greg and Connor. I truly thought, but it's become quite evident that it's not the case, which is very sad.
I have to walk off the podcast for that one. That is some. You really didn't see that? Oh, okay. Well, I mean,
didn't.
Once we're finished recording, I know what I'm sending you. But yeah, so a couple great funny moments. That was hilarious. Kudos for the Bachelor crew. It's just so funny, so brilliant. all the time. But then the rose ceremony.
Mhm.
And Katie talks about, time isn't going to make a difference. Katie cancels the cocktail party. And you mentioned the cocktail party canceling it. Obviously, this is a production ploy. Other use of the term ploy there, maybe a little overuse of the term ploy. But so Katie decides to cancel that. But then what happened? And again, who knows whose decision this was? Probably Katie's. But they're all there. There's a sheet over the roses. They pull them off, and there's 7. And the guy's like, "Oh my God, there's 7 roses! Like things are heating up here." And so first up, dramatic pause, the cutaways, and then Katie's holding the rose and says, "Hunter." Hunter's like, "Yes, I'm in." Hunter walks in, and Katie says, "Hunter, let's go talk." And the guys are like, "What on earth is happening here?" So they have a conversation, and I feel like in seasons past, Hunter would have stayed.
Mhm.
But I feel like either Katie's just really smart, or people are filling her in, or she's listening to the guys more. But obviously Hunter didn't stay on the show. What were your thoughts on Katie letting Hunter go?
Well, just like when she said Thomas's name first, as you mentioned, and then all of a sudden she got rid of him. I think the producers are like, we're getting too predictable with these things. We want to swerve people a little bit here. Of course, usually be the villain would be the last person to get the rose, which was super obvious every time.
Right.
So I guess they're like, let's just go get right ahead of the story right away. And also would be a reaction. Oh my God, right away. Holy crap. And then, oh, no. Now they're gone. I did find it interesting though, that he was back into the equation to possibly get that rose. Because I thought there's a possibility he would get that last rose, which would have been kind of interesting. But then no, she didn't give it to him. But I must say, I'm sure you were also surprised. And I'm sure a lot of people I've seen online are thinking the same thing. Brendan getting that final rose. I am stunned that he's still in this process. I was all set. To send off a message to him. Hey man, I'd love to have you on the bros ceremony, fellow Canadians. We've already had Serena Pitt, Alana, and Blake. And I thought for sure that, but then no, he's staying. Brendan's staying. Were you surprised by that? You must have been.
I was. I mean, having watched the show for 5-6 years, fully expecting Hunter to get that final rose. I was almost going to turn off the TV. I was, this is happening. No big deal. And then boom. I will say though, because Brendan hasn't really done much. I was looking up that's what I was looking up on my mobile device here. I couldn't think of his name, because that's where I'm going with my next point here. I couldn't think of Brendan's name. He's had, at times he's been sort of like almost the narrator for dates. Like, oh, this guy's in hot water, or this guy's in hot water, or he wants a rose, like something around that line. But at the end of the day though, Michael, 7 men left, 2 Canadians. This has to be a first in the history of the Bachelor series, no?
Well, I only watched Bachelor for maybe the last 10-ish years or something along those lines. So perhaps well earlier in the process. If that is the case, please do tell us online here. I would love to know. We would love to know, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But it certainly seems like, because usually at most there's 2 a season. Wait a minute, hold on. Serena and Alana, were they not in the final 7? Maybe Serena certainly.
No. Alana was gone early.
She's gone early. Okay.
Yeah.
Say, that would be pretty funny if we were like, it hasn't happened before, and then oh wait, it happened last season. That would have been pretty funny actually. But from what I can remember, I don't recall that. No.
Canadians are nice. Just saying. And good for Blake, good for Brendan. But with 7 men left, we mentioned this a couple times last week, where things are really upping the ante, if you will. But now it looks like, heading into tonight's episode, it appears that hometown dates are next week, that things are really going to escalate. Do you have any thoughts on what we could or could not see tonight? I know I'm putting you on the spot a little bit here, but what do you think about tonight's episode?
Well, I truly hope you did see the preview for tonight's episode at the end of last episode, because I intentionally did not watch the preview for tonight's episode, just so we can then have a natural reaction to said preview for tonight's episode. Did you watch it? I really hope you did. Do you remember it?
I did watch the preview. Yes.
And I'm sure, obviously, they made it seem like crazy stuff was going to happen. But yeah, I didn't watch it because I was like, I want a genuine reaction to what's going to go on tonight. But I don't know. Did it look? I'm sure it looked amazing, right?
Well, Michael, what I will tell you on tonight's episode, 8 p.m. Eastern, City TV, or if you don't watch it live, the City TV app or online or whatever app you use if you're listening in Thailand or Zimbabwe or the Yukon.
Timbuktu.
There will be tears. There will be drama. Walls will be down. And things are going to get real tonight. It looks like hometown dates just around the corner. The men tell all. Fantasy suites, of course, will be very soon. We are deep in this process. This season has gone by very quickly. But in terms of a viewer and common sense, Bachelor in Paradise is less than a month away. So there's 3 weeks left of this season? Maybe 4.
I would say maybe 4 with 3 and then a men tell all thrown in there as well, possibly.
Right.
But yeah, so our picks aren't doing so hot. Obviously, I had James gone in this episode, Trey gone in the episode. I only have the one left, which is Andrew. And what about your pick at the start of the season?
Yeah, so my picks at the start of the season, I had Thomas. See ya. I had Connor. See ya. Unfortunately, Greg. So we have Greg against Andrew S. Have to give us credit at some point. Both good picks. Personally, I would say both have a pretty good chance of hometown dates. We don't know how hometown dates are going to go down, COVID world, etc. Whether the families are going to come in, or I doubt they'll travel, but who knows? But I would say, would you say Greg and Andrew S are 2 of the favorites to be home? Yeah,
because I would imagine Brendan probably is not as much as he's cool. Mike. Probably not. Michael as well.
Yeah, that'll be interesting with his he's 34 years old and he has his 4-year-old son. You feel like that's going to be a storyline in terms of family and not seeing your son for a while. So you wonder if Michael is going to be a part of hometowns. Probably for me personally, yeah. For me, I'd say Blake.
Well, I was gonna say, so yeah, we got rid of Mike. Realistically, probably we got rid of Mike, Michael, and Brendan. So that'd be Blake, Greg, Andrew, and who's the other one that's left? That's some good podcast. Yes. Good podcasting here. I'm sure it's obviously
Justin. He was on the 101.
Right. Yes. So yes, Justin, I don't think wins. So yeah, I do think it's going to come down to Blake, Greg, and Andrew. And I think Blake, it's going to be, as I said earlier, last episode of this podcast, it's simmering quickly. I think it'll fizzle out. Greg just seems like too much of a safe pick. I think it won't get the distance with that. And Andrew, my boy, is sitting pretty. Maybe it's I'm biased toward that, but I think Andrew's going to be the winner. Or what do you want to call it?
Yeah, you know what, and it's interesting you mentioned the picks and who we like this season, because before we sign off here, Michael, because we have gone a little long in this episode because so much happened. But one thing that I was going to mention closer to the top of the episode, so last season, Matt James' season, Rachel and Matt appeared to be together, but then we're not together. But now, like, they are fully back dating. They were at the ESPYs together, and not to toot my own horn, but I did pick Rachel to win the season. So now we'll see, Michael, can I go back to back?
Well, I mean, again, Greg certainly has been someone that from the start everyone's thought, and I think if I'm not mistaken, he got the first impression rose, I think. But it just seems like it just feels a little too easy and a little too obvious to me that that's going to happen. But as you like to say, only time will tell. Only time will tell. Well, Michael and I both have we have 1 man remaining each. Andrew S. versus Greg. Those are our top picks. Will they move forward? Will they advance to hometown dates? Tonight's episode, 8 p.m. Eastern. We will see where Katie's heart
leads her next. Well, we're 23 episodes in to the bro ceremony here. Really enjoying it. Thanks for all your feedback. Thanks for all the new subscribers, the followers, the likes on Instagram. Hoping to keep building our brand, if you will, as the weeks go on. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter. We'll keep updating you on a weekly basis on everything going on in the world of Bachelor Nation. For Michael the Hound Dog Harrison.
Hey, Adam, before
Whoa!
the episode's over, may I interrupt you with something?
Yes.
No, you're
Yes,
right
you
there.
may.
You're
I was
like, oh.
right there. I was ready.
And the funny thing was, I was like, maybe he'll ask me this because the last couple episodes you said, "Do you have any final thoughts?" I didn't really have any final thoughts. So you're probably like, I'm not going to ask him about the final thoughts anymore because this moron hasn't had any good final thoughts.
I wasn't going to say that, but
That's what you were thinking. This time I do have a final thought because you almost, as you were prone to do, like to say spoilers to me. And before we recorded this episode, you were going to give me some news about some former Bachelor alumni that happened, past Bachelor couples. And I said, whoa, save it for the podcast, Adam. What was that news?
I mean, this isn't the most entertaining thing in the world, but Jared and Ashley I are expecting a child.
Oh.
And which is very exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting social media play where they posted a picture where Ashley's having, I'll wait till you finish that sip, having morning sickness, and Jared's like holding her hair.
Oh.
It's kind of strange,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, you know, good for them.
I'm assuming people, especially in those positions where you're social media influencers, I think because they feel this pressure, I'm assuming they do. I've talked to people about this before.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I am not a social media influencer, but I'm a master show producer influencer. I can only assume that they just do things too much almost sometimes. Like they share too much to try. They have that pressure to be the influencer and to do things that are different and creative and such. And perhaps they go a little bit too far in that. So it sounds like maybe they did there, but I have not seen it because I honestly did not know the news. And you started to tell me, that's when I said, "Whoa, don't tell me I want to hear on the podcast."
Well, good luck to Ashley and Jared. I don't know how far along the pregnancy is in. I think it's in the very early stages, but we'll keep you posted on that because, Michael, we won't be going away anytime soon because not only Bachelor in Paradise just around the corner, but after that, Michelle's season of The Bachelorette is right after that. So we have Bachelor in Paradise, which I presume is going to air. I believe it's August 16th is the first date. And that'll air past Labor Day, probably into the mid to late September part of the year. And then Michelle's season of The Bachelorette starts sometime early October. So there's not going to be a break this time around for us. We'll be here every week. We'll be breaking down everything that's going on in Bachelor Nation, whether we're going to see someone be the repeat Bachelor. There's some rumors about Peter wanting to be the Bachelor again. Not really sure how that would go. Do you have any thoughts on that before we go?
Not necessarily.
That's your final thought this time.
Yeah, not necessarily about Peter, but I had final thoughts. I remember quite a few episodes ago of last season, there was some awesome point out in my brain I was going to make. And then I couldn't remember what the point was. And then the recording was over. We finished. And I'm like, oh my God, that's what it was.
Right.
You brought up Michelle. Now I remember what my point was back then. And it still holds water now. Is she intentionally not trying to find love for like 6, 8 months, 10 months, whatever the time is, because she wants to be the Bachelorette? Like, is she purposely not wanting to find love because in the meantime, she may have found her man and she could have found love? So in that situation, would you just never go on dates and be like, don't even talk to me? I want to be on the show. Like, I wonder if, you know what I mean? Has it ever happened? I don't think it has, where someone's been named the Bachelor or Bachelorette. And then they said, no, I've already found love. I don't need to be on the show anymore.
Okay. It hasn't happened to that degree where they've been named the Bachelor or Bachelorette, but I do remember us asking Blake Moynes this question on episode 3 of the Bro Ceremony podcast and this would have been December, January, sometime in the winter, where we asked him, hey, like, are you interested in Paradise? He said, absolutely. But I'm going to be actively dating until then. My goal coming onto the show was to find a partner, a fiance, a wife, etc. So for Michelle, I'm curious, like how does that work? I mean, we'll have to have her on the podcast to discuss.
That sounds like a brilliant idea, Adam. That'd be only time will tell whether or not she decides to find love before she's in The Bachelor, because that'd be quite the Bachelorette, sorry. That'd be quite the twist if she decided, you know what? I'm good. She goes on there for one episode and then just fools the producers and just says, actually, I've already found someone back home. They would be so livid and it would be really, really funny.
That would be real hilarious. That's for sure. Now, one last time, episode 23 of the Bro Ceremony podcast in the books. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Twitter. Subscribe to us on YouTube, and we'll post snippets of these episodes on Instagram on a weekly basis. For Michael the Hound Dog Harrison, I'm Adam Scully. We'll see you next time right here on the Bro Ceremony.